So, to give some context, the reason why I'm making this video is essentially I have forced my own hand by losing a game of rock, paper, scissors. I spent a few days, and yes, a few days, because I binged the whole show out of spite at a point, just to decide whether or not I had the energy or even care to make this video. Bly Manor was a lot of effort to sit through. It was like punching into a 9 to 5, and that 9 to 5 is filled with people that you absolutely hate, with a job that is absolutely mundane, and people are telling you stories about their day that are, one, uninteresting, and they're trying to make it more interesting by using words that are unnecessary and providing you with detail that you couldn't care less about, and they just keep talking on and on and on about, to a point that you feel like you're being tortured. That's what I felt like watching Bly Manor. It was torture. Why? How are people saying this is good? I don't understand. I don't know why. This is the same level of quality as The Turning. And one, nobody watched that movie. Two, that movie didn't even have an ending. And three, it probably had a little bit of a better child actor.
I have no friends.
You have no friends?
Yep.
Even the little girl in that movie, if I want to call it that, was more competent than most of the cast in this show, this thing, this stream of consciousness that just keeps droning on and on and on about a story that is so simple it could have been told in a movie that is an hour and 30 minutes. If they want to make it slow paced, 2 hours, tops, maximum. No extra necessary bits of information would have even been lost. After watching the whole freaking show, I basically only had a good understanding of 2 characters, maybe. And those are the only ones that were acted with any sort of thing that I would call believability. Everybody else was just hurtful. It was just almost insulting to listen to certain people's accents, like the main character.
Your parents loved you so much.
By the way, this review is gonna be all over the place. There's no need for structure in this because the show was just so off the bat, right away, not good, and baffling that it was made by the same person, that the need for structure was lost completely when I listened to the kid that was in AT's British accent.
That hurts. That really hurts.
This dude is from the 80s and is a businessman, but he sounds like he's from the 1800s telling you why slavery being abolished was a mistake.
No.
And it's not just his accent, but also his acting, because just like this one, a lot of the characters are being haunted by something from their past. And this time is not actual spooky and actual scary ghosts. No, it's just obviously about guilt and other things. It's all about guilt. Nobody can let go. The show is about letting go of things, but it's doing such a bad and awful job at that you want everybody to be left off a cliff by the 2nd episode. I wanted the ghosts to show up and just kill everybody as quickly as possible so I could be done with the show. Again, I watched this in 2 days. Not out of excitement, curiosity, or even being invested in the characters. None of that. It's because I knew that as soon as I could finish this goddamn nightmare of a show, I would never have to think about it again. It's so derivative of so many other things. It's so annoying that it thinks it's so smart.
When we fall in love is kind of giving birth to a new ghost.
I don't care. This show is about some people going into a house, and there's this lady that walks around the hallway from time to time. She's after somebody that is from her past because she can't let go. Do you get it yet? It's about learning to let go of mistakes of the past. You have to let go and move on. You can't just let yourself fade away because of something from the past. Oh, we're so deep. We needed 9 episodes that are each an hour long to let you know that you should let go of certain things in your life. If you're a 9-year-old child, you might learn something from this show. If you're anything but, you would just be incredibly bored of how cliched, tropey, and predictable everything is. A tropey movie can at least be competent. This isn't it. The only thing that is even reminiscent of Mike Flanagan's stamp is the fact that sometimes some shots look symmetric. The guy likes his symmetry. It doesn't really make your shot that much more interesting by just having a symmetric house, because technically I could call this symmetric, but you wouldn't call necessarily my videos cinematic. Do you guys remember how in Hill House, it's a fair comparison because it's created by the same person, the camera would flow around and be almost untethered by natural laws of physics, would flow in a way that no natural human being could carry it. And you would in your head is like, did they do this in a CGI room? Do they use some mechanics? How did they even get this shot to work? Here is, they pointed a camera at a symmetric room and said, action.
No.
Every single camera angle in this show, every camera movement feels completely static. It's always just a straight on shot of what is happening. Nothing about it is interesting. The inconsistency in the stylistic choices. I call them stylistics politely because one, that is a hard word to say. I cannot pronounce it, but whatever. I'm gonna go with whatever I said. There is this weird thing that they do where they have this blurred double zoom in with a different character at the same time, and that is only used for the first 2 episodes and never comes back. It's not used in a way that is necessary at all. It doesn't add to the scene. The only thing it does to the scene is distract you from the already very easily distractible dialogue. Nobody communicates like a goddamn normal individual. The only episode in the show where people talked almost like they were normal people from the 80s was when it was set in the goddamn 17th century. The little child speaks like a stupid little old lady, and I hate her in this show. I don't hate her in real life. She's Peppa Pig. How could I hate Peppa Pig?
Impossible.
Children, you can't be so mean to children. Yes, I can. I can be mean to them because a stupid casting director and then their parents saw her screening tape and decided, yeah, that's good. Let's just have her talk all the time and say, absolutely splendid 15 times in an episode.
Perfectly splendid.
If you're doing shots every time she does absolutely splendid in an episode, you might die before episode 2. And that might be fortunate for you because then you don't have to watch episode 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. They couldn't even get to 10. No, they only had 9. And it's already stretched out as it is. Almost every single side character, plot, and interaction is irrelevant to the actual plot. I barely can give you a good synopsis of what the plot is about because it truly is, oh, we have to stop that lady that walks up the hall from time to time that doesn't hurt anyone as long as you're not on her way. This ghost is so goddamn limited, it's almost pointless. Just leave the house. Nobody's trapped. She doesn't follow anyone outside the house. Everybody that lives in the house is fine outside. The only thing that they carry is their own guilt. And if you think that this is done in any way that would be interesting, you'd be very mistaken because their own guilt looks like a smart anime glasses guy. They let this be in the show. Why? Oh, and the show has this secondary plot, is the other plot that matters, about possession and kids, and it's about a forbidden love story. Nothing in this possession plot makes any sense. They try to frame the guy ghost, the evil guy ghost, but he's not really evil. He has every right in his mind to be pissed at this family because he was just staying over and he randomly gets killed by the lady in the stairs. He wasn't like the best individual in the world. He was a possessive and a little bit too forward with his girlfriend, but I wouldn't call him deserving of being randomly killed and then forever trapped in a house, basically becoming a ghost with dementia.
Please.
Yeah, the ghost in the show essentially eventually develop dementia and dream hop between their own memories, and the show thinks that's a really cool idea. So that's why they do essentially the same episode twice with two different ghosts that we didn't need, because we understood that in a different episode. But instead of just doing maybe both at the same time, maybe just one of them, maybe getting rid of the other ghost completely because she barely affects the plot. No, they just decided to have two of those episodes that feel so overly stretched out. Holy God. Oh, by the way, there's a filler episode in this goddamn show. Why do you have a filler episode? You already have goddamn 9 hours of something happening and nothing happens. Nothing matters. The filler episode gives you a backstory of the lady in the stairs, even though she doesn't remember her own backstory as a ghost. She's trapped in a loop, essentially, every night. And we can tell that because we can see that with our eyes. Everything, every little goddamn line of thought that could have stayed in their heads and demonstrated through actions and behavior are spelled out like nothing I have ever seen before. Every goddamn time somebody starts mapping their mouth like they're trying to say something important and start telling them about, oh, whatever happened in their past, they just never stop talking and using empty platitudes to just explain the most mundane thing. My dad was an workaholic. I'm secretly gay.
Miles is only 8, floor of 6. That's
That
not
hurt.
bad enough, really,
That
to
really
choose
hurt.
evidence.
Oh,
I
you're
want to
so
see it again.
pretty.
No.
I
tonight
told
was
Rosie you'd be
May.
pretty.
Do your
Perfectly
things.
splendid.
You must be floored. I hope I didn't startle you.
Like, the only interesting thing about this plot was the gay angle for the main character, and they barely explored it at all until the last goddamn episode. They kind of explore it very spreadly thin throughout the show. Very thinly, by the way. They introduced it in episode 4, but then only in episode 9 do you get actual development between the relationship between the gardener and the nanny. I refuse to try to remember these characters' names. They weren't names, they were exposition dumps about stories that nobody cares about, that does not move the plot in any way, and does not develop the characters.
That really hurts.
Just because you spelled out every possible detail about something so mundane and unimportant doesn't mean you're so deep and thoughtful about how our pasts shape us, how our memories are an important development tool for our development. Wow, man, did you take like one psychology class and decide, I know exactly what this is about? Love.
Is that at its heart, it's a love story.
Yes. And for those people, the people that are gonna call me insane or a mini head or whatever, that are saying I'm judging this too harshly because I wanted this to be scary. I wanted this to be just like Hill House, something that was good and had a plot and had side plots that related to the main plot and characters that we cared about that acted in appropriate ways and fit the casting and also did things correctly and not like trash. Oh yeah, man, I'm judging this so goddamn harshly. But also, if you think I'm being too harsh because this wasn't a horror show, even though most of the production and promotional material was all about, hey, this is a horror show for October. That's why we've released it in October. None of the horror aspects, or even this, if you want to just be a drama horror flavored thing, it doesn't work. None of the tension or horror almost makes any sense. It doesn't pose a threat most of the time. And when you look at this into the drama aspect, it falls apart even harder. Because as I probably have gone on for way too long, none of the characters feel relatable. None of them feel like humans. They just are there to say lines that might be endearing for some people. Haha, child go absolutely splendid. I like her now. She sounds like a grandma. That's so quirky and likable.
Perfectly splendid.
This is the equivalent of somebody using a glitter shotgun into a cardboard and saying that this now creates depth into the cardboard. Do you know that as soon as you lift the cardboard, all that glitter just fades away and you're left with just a brown, weird, soggy object. And that's the entirety of Bly Manor. I had to force myself so hard to even try to pay attention to the goddamn dialogue. You don't have any depth. If you were to be depthful, you wouldn't be something with nice filled water, a nice stream in which you can have a drink. It would be an empty hole you fall into and never come back and stay there forever, bored out of your mind, wanting for the sweet release of death. Holy God. Oh yeah, by the way, do you remember that thing I said about possessions? Yeah, that doesn't matter. That just stops being a factor in the show for the people that were being possessed for the majority of the show. They just stop being possessed at the end, and then somebody else gets possessed. And then the show ends because the show ended. Did I mention there's narration?
Great, good place.
Just like the dialogue is almost completely pointless for many of the scenes that it is in, which not that many, fortunately, but every time that it's in there, it's completely unfitting, useless beyond belief. It's saying things that are literally happening on the screen, not in an endearing way, just overly annoying. If I were to close my eyes for the entirety of the show, I probably would have had a better enjoyment of it because I wouldn't have to be looking at the performances of some of the worser actors, which unfortunately was one of the main characters of the goddamn thing.
Now what's that?
Why do you have to have so many scenes with the bad child actors? It's like an exponential thing of badness. She says something and then it's terrible. And then the child actor says something and then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse to a point that you feel like you've gone down a road of insanity. So yeah, I didn't really like Bly Manor. I thought that nothing that it did well, that ideas were overly simplistic for what it pretended to be, which is depthful, which is now a word, you shut up. You can tell me I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm insane, you can tell me how I missed the love story. Oh my God, it's a love story, so it's immediately so good. Oh, it's a love story. Kill me, daddy. Why are love stories given such a pass? Just because it's a love story doesn't make it good. Guess what? This love story wasn't very good. It was trash. Threw it in the garbage, threw it in the bin, threw it outside my house so I never have to look at it again. It was not interesting. It was not depthful. I'm gonna keep using that word. You can't stop me. And it was just a waste of goddamn time. If you feel like I haven't covered enough characters or plots or things, because I don't want to. I don't feel like I have to. I think I've made my feelings pretty clear. Dialogue, trash. Anything they thought it was important, didn't feel important, and they didn't convey it. So this guy's English accent, trash. His smile when he's evil, pretty funny. Anything else, I don't care. Cool, great, bye.